Thank you, Lois. Oh. And thank you all so much for being here this afternoon. It truly is an honor to be here. Well, as Lois kind of hinted at with some when she mentioned infanticide, it's been an interesting, exciting last couple of weeks. New York shocked the country by removing their limits on abortion after 24 weeks, requiring now only that the abortionist make a reasonable and good faith professional judgment that the unborn child isn't viable or that abortion is necessary to protect the mother's life or health. We know that the Supreme Court defined health in the context of abortion to include all factors, quote, physical, emotional, psychological, familial, and the woman's age, relevant to the well-being of the patient. And the abortionist is the one that gets to decide if any of these factors are important enough to affect her health. How old did you say you were? That's reason enough to get an abortion. We know that your age is going to affect your health. So when we say that New York allows abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy, that's accurate. And while the rest of the country was shocked, I'm sure all of you were thinking, welcome to our world. Oregon also has no limits, and your tax dollars and insurance companies are required to pay for them. Between abortion and assisted suicide, it can seem like there is maybe a cloud of darkness covering this beautiful state, but that is when your light shines brightest. The road to protecting unborn children and the elderly and those with disabilities looks difficult, but I know you are not going to give up. So I want to begin by saying thank you. Thank you for your dedication, your perseverance. Thank you for standing firm for life. The Commonwealth of Virginia also had extreme legislation introduced this year. Current law allows abortion in the 3rd trimester if 3 doctors certify that the woman's health will be substantially or irremediably impaired without it. The bill that received attention last week would have required only that the abortionist certify that the abortion was necessary to protect the mother's mental or physical health. Again, a weak definition of health that would basically allow all abortion. In addition, the law of New York and the governor's interpretation of the Virginia bill would require no life-saving care for a baby who miraculously survives the abortion. New York also removed all criminal penalties for killing an unborn child. A man was arrested yesterday for killing his girlfriend and her unborn child. He was charged with murder for the girlfriend and second-degree abortion for the baby. The abortion charge was dropped because the new law removes abortion from the criminal code and puts it under the health code. So I think we really should thank New York and Virginia for what they have done in the last couple of weeks. They have pulled back the curtain so that this country is seeing the goal, the end game of the abortion industry. Abortion for any reason for all 9 months of pregnancy, and no baby until wanted by her mother after birth is safe. A lot of people in the country are not going to believe that that actually is the law of the land in many states, but they are now realizing that the extremist position is actually the one being pushed. Now, do you remember in the 2016 election, in that 3rd debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, when the moderator asked Hillary about her vote to keep partial birth abortion legal? She defended her position, saying that that was up to the mother, the woman, she didn't say mother, the woman, the patient, should get to make that decision. So Donald Trump responded with what Hillary is saying: in the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. Now you can say that's okay, and Hillary can say that's okay, but it's not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying, and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day, and that's not acceptable. Hillary's supporters went crazy. Many in the mainstream media, of course, taking the same tack. That's crazy. Abortions don't happen that late in pregnancy. Whether they do or not, they weren't denying that that was her actual position. And yes, they do occur late in pregnancy. But that they were not denying that that was Hillary Clinton's position, that abortion up to all 9 months of pregnancy should be allowed. Well, they can no longer deny that that is the goal, because we have seen in recent events what they really do want to do. I'm sure you are following the New York and Virginia stories, but I have a pretty strong feeling that many people are not even aware of what they did. They're just not paying that close attention to the news. And they maybe didn't hear what the delegate in Virginia did. So I actually want to play a clip, and maybe you have seen this, /maybe you haven't. And I'm just going to tell you, if you want to get to it very quickly, it's at, and we posted it on our website, it's nrlc.org/stopabortion. nrlc.org/stopabortion. So I am going to play, the clip is just a little over a minute, but this is a committee hearing that took place in Virginia between the sponsor of the bill, who is the woman's voice that you're going to hear, and a delegate who was questioning her about what her bill would do.
How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
So, I mean, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay, but to the end of the third trimester.
Yep, I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So, where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give birth, would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilated.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman.
I understand that. I'm asking if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
Okay, so she admitted that her bill would allow abortion through the 9th month when a woman is ready to give birth and is dilating. So again, I think we need to share that. Post that on any social media page you have. Keep the link handy and show it to someone. This is the end game of the abortion movement. Abortion for all 9 months of pregnancy for no reason or any reason. Again, if you're interested in that, nrlc.org/stopabortion. Now, by the way, the same day that delegate introduced this bill to legalize abortion, she introduced another bill to prevent the spraying of pesticides on the fall cankerworm. So she was more interested in protecting caterpillars than unborn babies. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan wrote Abortion in the Conscience of a Nation. It's a great book, some of you have probably read it. But he wrote, the real question today is not when human life begins, but what is the value of human life? The abortionist who reassembles the arms and legs of a tiny baby to make sure all its parts have been torn from its mother's body can hardly doubt whether this is a human being. The real question for him and for all of us is whether that tiny human life has a God-given right to be protected by the law, the same right we have. Now, President Reagan was describing a dismemberment abortion. 10 states have enacted laws to prevent the killing of unborn babies by dismemberment. Abortion advocates have challenged and been successful in blocking the law in 7 of those states. They went to court to defend a procedure that kills babies by tearing off their arms and legs and crushing the skull. Even Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy, when the court was considering a ban on partial birth abortion, described this particular abortion method, writing, "The fetus in many cases dies just as a human adult or child would. It bleeds to death as it is torn limb from limb. The fetus can be alive at the beginning of the dismemberment process and can survive for a time while its limbs are being torn off." In the court's second decision, when they upheld a ban on partial birth abortion, he wrote, "These abortions are laden with the power to devalue human life." So let's look at how the abortion industry devalues human life. We know they don't care about the babies at any age, but neither do they care about the women involved. Abortion is the least regulated invasive procedure in the country. Many states do not require that women be fully informed about the abortion procedure, its potential risks or alternatives, something that is required for every other surgical procedure in the country. Abortion advocates want to rush the pregnant woman into the abortion facility and rush her through that abortion procedure because they are afraid that if she gets information about the baby and the abortion process or alternatives that are available, she may change her mind, and they can't let that happen. Now, speaking of informed consent, why do abortion advocates even refuse to acknowledge the possibility that there is a connection between abortion and breast cancer? Out of 108 worldwide studies published on abortion and breast cancer, 73% found an increased risk between induced abortion and the later development of breast cancer. Now think of all the TV commercials we see about all the different prescriptions and medications that we're supposed to ask our doctor about. Half of the commercial is a disclaimer. Do not take if, do not use if, this may cause, ... They have all these things that they have to tell people about. So why isn't there any disclaimer on abortion that there may be a link to breast cancer? They just can't handle it. They don't want women to know that. Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of abortions in America. In 2017, it performed more than 332,000 abortions, their second highest number of abortions in their history. That is 900 every day, one every 97 seconds. But Planned Parenthood isn't content to just have women walk through their doors. Some of the facilities are now offering so-called webcam abortions, where the abortionist is sitting in a room with a computer, and he's talking to a woman over webcam. They're Skyping or doing FaceTime, and he can push a button on his computer that will open a drawer in the room where she is seated, and in that drawer will be the chemical cocktail that will kill her unborn child. Chemical abortions are a two-drug process. The first is mifepristone, RU-486, which kills the developing human being by starving her of the nutritional progesterone in the uterus. The second is a prostaglandin that causes cramping and expels the dead baby from the uterus. Now, RU-486 itself is dangerous and painful. 14 women who used it are known to have died in the United States since 2000, when it was legalized, and thousands of women have suffered complications. Prescribing a chemical cocktail to a woman who could be in another state and not being aware of anything that's going on with her is certainly not pro-woman, not being there to help if there are complications. Now, the reason that Planned Parenthood wants to push the webcam abortions is that the number of abortion providers is dwindling. Fewer doctors are willing to take this on as a profession. The older ones are retiring, and it's getting more and more difficult to find someone who's willing to kill babies. This will allow one abortionist, webcam abortions will allow an abortionist to sit in an office and kill babies in several states. Now, in response to these efforts, 20 states have passed laws to require that the abortionist must meet with the patient in person in order to prevent these abortions from happening just over the internet. 5 states have amended their informed consent laws to require abortion facilities to inform a woman using the chemical abortion method that if she changes her mind and acts quickly enough, she may be able to reverse the process. If you can get to a doctor even after taking that first pill which dries up the progesterone in the uterus, if you can get to a doctor, they can prescribe a method where you get a heavy dosage for a lengthy period to make sure that that first pill doesn't work. We do know that there are several hundred babies alive today, not just babies, little kids, running around. They survived because their moms changed their minds after taking that first pill and were able to get help to help those babies live. Abortion advocates who supposedly care about women will fight legislation requiring abortion facilities to meet the most basic health and safety standards of medical clinics, such as requiring hallways to be wide enough to get a gurney through in case they need to call an ambulance, or requiring that oxygen be available. Now, why do they fight basic safety and health standards and regulations? How can that be pro-woman? Now, regardless of what you hear about Planned Parenthood helping women, just remember that cancer screenings are down, mammograms are down, pap smears are down, and actually in their latest annual report, even their contraceptive services are down. The only service that increased in their last annual report was abortion. The bottom line for abortion advocates is making sure that abortion remains legal for any reason with no limits, and they want no one interfering with their ability to commit abortion. The unborn child must be sacrificed at all costs, and if some women are hurt in the process, that's just too bad. Now, women who have had abortions are all around us. They're in our schools, our neighborhoods, our churches, our workplace. There are probably some here. The pro-life movement is the only place that will offer these women love and support and acceptance before and after the abortion. So let's go back to Ronald Reagan's question, what is the value of human life? And we shouldn't be surprised that if a society is willing to kill unborn children because they are somehow a problem or they've gotten in the way, we're also going to put a price on life at the end of the life cycle, or somewhere along the way if that life is imperfect in the eyes of some. We do know that food and water, nutrition and hydration is being withheld from patients in hospitals and nursing homes. Studies show that between 60 and 90% of unborn babies diagnosed with Down syndrome are killed. Parents have to fight with doctors and hospitals to get treatment for a child who has not just a physical disability, but also other problems. There's an ongoing push to starve to death patients with Alzheimer's, even if they knowingly or if they willingly eat and drink, because they have Alzheimer's, they really don't know what they're doing. They're just doing it out of habit. The District of Columbia and 6 states, including Oregon, of course, have legalized assisted suicide. More than 20 state legislatures in the last legislative sessions have considered assisted suicide, but so far we were able to hold those off. We'll see what happens this year. The Netherlands and Belgium were the first to allow assisted suicide, but the numbers are growing of people who are being put to death without their consent. A recent study found that in one region of Belgium, 66 of 208 euthanasia deaths, about 30%, occurred without request of the patient or consent. The reasons for the lack of consent included the patient was unconscious or had dementia, because the physicians felt that euthanasia was clearly in the patient's best interest, but discussing it with the patient would have been harmful to the patient. There is a case under review in the Netherlands for a woman who wrote that when the time is right, she wanted euthanasia. She wanted to be killed. Well, she developed dementia and was frequently asked, okay, is it time to die now? And she would reply, not just now, it's not so bad yet. Her doctor got tired of waiting for her to make up her mind to be killed, so he decided to administer the drugs that would kill her. As the doctor started the process, the woman tried to protest, so the doctor drugged her and asked the family to hold her down so that he could finish the process. In another case, a late middle-aged man diagnosed with dementia signed an advance directive saying that he wanted to be euthanized when the condition got worse. As the dementia progressed, he became more reluctant to actually go through with it, unfortunately much to his wife's dismay. The man was not asking for death, and his wife was pressuring him to do so, so the doctor refused. She was not going to do it if he was still saying no. The doctor went on vacation and came back to find that another doctor in her practice had taken care of it, and her patient was dead. Now, because of cases like this, doctors in the Netherlands are starting to wonder if things have gone too far. If someone determined to be mentally fit says yes, they would want to be killed, but then after they're going through the process and they decide not ready or no, which position should prevail? The doctors are also concerned that because they were trained to heal, they don't like being looked at as the dealers of death. So maybe, just maybe, there will be some changes in those countries, especially the Netherlands, if the medical doctors are willing to say, no, I'm not going to do it. When we start to decide who should live and who should die, it's not the young and the healthy that are going to go, of course. It'll be the elderly and those with disabilities who are encouraged to end their lives. A few years ago, Canada legalized assisted suicide for the entire country. They're now talking about having roving medical teams go around the country to kill people because not enough doctors are willing to do it. But there was a 22-year-old college student who, when the decision came down, said, "It's like you're standing at the edge of a cliff. As an able-bodied person, the population will extend its hand to you, saying, 'Here, there's help for you.' I feel like for the disabled population, they'll push you over." And this is a young woman who's in a wheelchair, and she thinks that her country wants her dead. Now, we in the United States live in a country that cuts out corners of sidewalks, includes wheelchair ramps in buildings and along those sidewalks, installs elevators so that our friends with disabilities can more easily get around. It really makes no sense to just turn around and tell them that they would be better off dead. Life can be challenging enough. When someone has extra burdens, our response should be one of assistance and aid and love and care, not telling them that they are a burden.